I'm Kiwi,
And I'm Jarad.
and we are the two gentlemen coming to you from somewhere under an underpass or something. Jared, what are those cars, mate?
It's quite the outside broadcast. I'm sitting out the front of my house because that's where the best Wi-Fi is today. Um, the family's home, so it's a bit hard to find a spot in the house. So I've just been trying to find some space, and apparently sitting in my driveway is the best Wi-Fi I can get. So sorry about that.
This is really just a ploy for you to tell all your neighbours that you've got a podcast, right?
Well, I'm trying to get some listeners, mate. They're like, what's this guy doing?
We're desperate.
Yeah. Listen to us.
How are you, mate?
Good. I just wrapped up a morning of what would we call it? Social basketball, I guess. A couple of hours of playing, and trudging up and down the court, pretending that I can still play.
Did you fool anyone?
No, not even myself, mate. To be honest, I don't know. I mean, I come to this realization a little while ago that I'm not what I used to be. Not that I was ever a budding NBA superstar, but with all sports and all movement, really, to be honest, it's trying to readjust and trying to make myself worth being out there, and like I've pulled up. I don't play it on weeknights anymore in the local comp because it was just getting too hard, really. There was times where your body just doesn't respond to what your brain wants it to do. And, this Saturday morning comp, which we've talked about quite a bit in this podcast, where it's a bit of a social thing. It's a bit of a, it doesn't really matter what level you are. So to be honest, it's perfect for me at the moment because my physical ability feels like it's dropping a little bit.
I hear you, brother. When did you feel this decline?
22. No. Look, all jokes aside, I mean, it was a very, very slow. For me, I was aware of, things as I sort of turned 30. I think around like 32, 33 with rugby. But I was able to hold it off for quite a bit of time. But it's sort of rapidly happening. And I think it's because I've got so much other stuff going on in life that I just don't have the time to pick up a basketball and go shoot it or go down and kick a footy around too much. And I'm not playing, so I don't really have a reason to kind of keep those skills up. So it's just those little intricate skills that doesn't interest me now to go out and, you know what I mean? Like I've got other things to do. So I've noticed that decline more so lately. But yeah, it was a slow thing. It happened sort of in my 30s. But I think that's just, wear and tear on the body and you slow down naturally with age. But yeah, this from 40... Like I'm 45 this year, so probably in the last 2 years, I've really noticed it. Really.
Yeah. A good friend of mine told me there was a huge difference between 30 and 40.
Yeah.
And that's when I just turned 30. And, obviously I didn't know what was ahead of me, but he was absolutely right. What a warning. It's been quite the decline for me as well, Jared. I totally understand everything you've said. And in my case, I've actually felt cognitive decline as well in the past few years. I wrote a book that I finished in 2018, and I'm trying to write another one now, and I'm not the same person I was. It's not very nice to admit that to myself, but my brain doesn't move as quickly as it used to. My thoughts don't come so freely. Even my words, when I'm speaking to people in general, I'm not as articulate as I used to be.
And it's a really strange feeling too that once you recognize it in yourself, so I'm like, oh, how many people have noticed before I've actually realized?
That's a really good point, yeah.
And now it's like, how do I adjust or retrain myself or I don't even know the right way of explaining it. It's more so, what do I do now? What do I do with what I have? Like, I mean, I've always utilized what I've had sporting wise and even, career wise, I've utilized what I have, and I feel like I've always utilized it well. But when you do see that decline, do you just bury your head in the sand and go, no, I'm still,
Mm.
I'm still 100%, like, and is that good? Is that a good thing because you're confident? You know, you're like, you know, you're still doing those reps, you know, that you would do when you were 30 or 20 or whatever. But or is it a smart thing to realize that and then go, all right, well, I am getting older now. Like, how do I adjust?
Yeah. I'd like to ask you, Jared, do you need to do those reps that you were doing when you were 30? I mean, when
Hmm.
you were training in your 30s, I don't actually know how much gym work you put in to play rugby. When we started, back in the when we started playing senior rugby back in the early 90s, I don't think many of us went to the gym at all. There wasn't any real sort of strength and conditioning. We kind of did a few laps of the oval, and let's be honest, Jared, we kind of walked them. We didn't really run,
We
and then
walked
we'd
it
show up
about.
on game day, and if you could do 10 push-ups, that was enough,
Yeah.
which kind of explains our record for a while there. But strength and conditioning is huge now. I don't know
Yes.
anyone that would play really even like at our level, the subbies level, without doing some sort of strength and conditioning regimen. But
Mm.
we had a purpose then. We would have been training to get on the field for our bodies to not get broken each week.
Yeah.
In our 40s now, what do we actually need to train for?
Yeah, and that's a good point. And I guess you know, like my training mindset has changed, which actually is benefiting me at the moment because I'm not training for anything. I'm training for other than myself. Like I'm not training for a particular event. I'm not training for a weekly beat up of my body when I go out on the football field. You know, like in the past, I mean, I've always loved playing basketball. I'm not built like a basketball player, and but I've always loved the sport. And I've always been able to adjust and be a reasonable player on the court. You know, I've always been able to make feel like I've made my worth, but be worthwhile out there to the other teammates. And you know, at the moment, I'm not feeling that. In the past, I would have gone, all right, I'm going to go out and I'm going to make some time to do a couple of hours of shooting, you know, shooting 3-pointers and moving around with the basketball and just knock off the rust, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't had the urge to kind of do that now. So I'm like, am I giving up?
Mm.
or have I hit another level of like, I just couldn't be bothered. I don't know. I'm obviously, you know, at crossroads because it's pretty fresh for me at the moment because,
Yeah.
you know, I finished playing that social comp. The social comp just started like 2 weeks ago that I'm not in.
Yeah.
And that was a big reason of my decision that I was just like, and I'm playing against people that are so much better than me. I'm not producing what I'm accustomed to producing, even though, you know, again, I'm not suggesting that I was going out there and winning games or anything, but I was doing my part. And I guess I was able to, for me, I'm like, well, I want to have a bit of dignity, I guess, and not just be this sort of lump on the basketball court.
Yeah. Understand. And that's a huge decision to make because you're really calling it right there. It's almost like a semi-retirement.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And, you know, I've had people come up to me over the last 5 days and I've been asked to play kind of in two teams because then when they found out I'm not playing, they've asked me to play and I'm like, yeah, but I'm not the guy that I used to be.
Yeah.
And when I say used to be like 6 months ago, like, or a year ago, or
Yeah.
like I was, again, nothing special, just able to hold my own. And I guess I've realized that I haven't been able to hold my own. I haven't been told it. No one mentioned it to me and said, "Hey, man," like, but it's pretty obvious in the way that you know, like the way that I'm doing things, you know, in this aspect of my life. That, you know, and I made the call to move myself away. But I mean, is that the right call? Like, should have I gone? Nah, you know, you're 45, you're not 80.
Mm.
Go out there and get better. Go out there and spend a couple of hours and get your shot back and get your brain working better and all that sort of stuff. But you know, father time gets everyone, I guess, at some point.
Exactly. Look, I don't think the goal is necessarily to be that competitive or even good.
Another point, yeah.
Yeah, so I still think the current Jared is better than most people anyway. You might not be satisfied with your performance or your current abilities, but it's probably good enough to keep going.
Yeah. Maybe it's a point of being like when you're accustomed to something and being able to do something at a certain level, and then all of a sudden you can't, or you don't produce that for quite a period of time, like maybe that's my personality is like, well, I'm done, or I don't want to embarrass myself or something like that. So for me, like you said the word retirement, and it sounds weird saying retirement from a social, local comp, but essentially that's what it is. I don't see myself as not playing again, but I don't see myself as playing any time in the future, if that makes sense. So it's it's a real crossroads at the moment,
Yeah. I think about Novak Djokovic, the greatest of all time. Everyone's, kind of death riding him, going, oh yeah, he hasn't had these results, hasn't won anything since I think it was the Olympics last year. That was the only competition he won. But the guy won the Olympics. He beat the reigning French Open champion, who was 20 or 21 at the time, to do so. He beat Carlos Alcaraz again at the Australian Open when he himself was injured at 36, I think it was, years old. So no one gets to tell someone that, they have to retire when they're getting results like that. But from his perspective, it's very similar to you, that he's not the same player that he was. And he might think, there's no point going on if I'm not dominating absolutely everybody. And it was the same with Federer. I know Federer had injuries as well, but, he could have just kept making cameo appearances at Grand Slams and maybe making the occasional fourth round and inspiring everyone in the crowd and whipping them up in a frenzy. He could probably come back and make a few second, third rounds now, even at his current age. But, he doesn't want that. No. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, what do we do now? What's the next step? I look at Erica, and she's been so good with her, I guess it's preventative health sort of stuff. She's always doing postural work and strengthening all the things that need to be done. She's eating really well, and she's eating to make sure that her 100-year-old self is as healthy as possible. She wants to die with all of her teeth. That's one of her goals. Yeah, right. Which I think is a great goal.
Yeah.
But her 100-year-old self will thank her 50-year-old self, saying, thank you for putting all that work in when you were, much younger. Because we've got a long way ahead of us, Jarad. And I don't think our athletic career is over. It's different. But, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I'm lucky we've got Masters division, so I can compete in Masters 3, which I think is like 41 to 45 or something. So at least I don't have to fight, 22-year-old guys who would absolutely smoke me. And I rolled with I think he was about 24, this white belt who's 88 kilos. I'm, a whopping 62 kilos at the moment, which is the heaviest I've ever been in my entire life, by the way. And I'm trying my best to put on weight, but, I've never been good at it. But since doing jiu-jitsu, I've gone from about 58 kilos to 62, and with a bit of help from creatine as well. But I got smoked by this guy, and, it's just how it is, age and weight, it makes a huge difference. But you know what? I'm out there on the mats. I'm not at home drinking beers. I'm not smoking. I'm not doing any of those bad habits. If my worst habit is getting beaten up by guys younger than me, I'm doing okay.
There's a lot there. And I guess what I also thought of as you were speaking is, like you're at the point where you're like, you still got that competitive drive to, you're still going around and training with these young guys and that ability to still compete at that, masters level, I guess. But I think it's a hard one when you lose that competitive drive but then you've got to shift that competitive drive even. So you might not lose it, but it's about shifting it towards what you were saying about Erica, that be competitive about keeping your teeth, like be competitive about being healthy, be competitive about like, okay, I need to do, X amount of kilometers walking wise, running wise, or whatever per week. It's finding that drive probably elsewhere, within yourself, for yourself.
Yeah, I think it's looking at our next phase of growth, Jarad. If we were just starting out now, let's just say we're 15, with your abilities, let's just say you didn't know how tall you're going to end up. You might be dreaming of the NBA, and you shoot for the stars, you might land on the moon, and you'd go really, really hard at that, especially in this day and age when you've got so many tutorials on social media. Like my Instagram is just basically really, really cute animals and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu videos.
Good mix.
Yeah, it is actually very wholesome. But we've got access to so much stuff now, and you could study basketball just online. We didn't have that back in the day. All this technical stuff. Like all the shot making stuff, you could really pick up all from YouTube for free, and you could just
Oh,
stand in the backyard and just practice day in, day out. But you'd at least have a goal. You'd be like, I'm going to try my best to get to the NBA. And, let's just say you don't get there. At least it's a goal, and it's pushing you to get to the best form of yourself. And you might just end up playing a really high level local league, which is great, I believe.
yeah, yeah,
I don't think there's
yep,
anything wrong with that.
yep.
So what do we do now in our 40s? We can't actually realistically aim for the NBA.
Hmm.
What do we aim for?
What's our NBA at 40s in the
Yeah,
40s?
exactly. That's a really good way of putting it. What's our NBA now?
Hmm. Yep, yep. And I think that's a personal thing now. Like I like it was back then though. Like at 15, I think back to 15 where I was, and I was a reasonable football player, rugby league player, and I had potential to have a go somewhere and make it, and I had trials, and things didn't work out in that regard, but that was my driving force to get better. And yeah, I did go and do weights, and I did do stuff, and I did try and get myself fitter to make those teams. And as the years went on, you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to make the NRL. Okay, where's my drive now? And it's like, okay, well, I picked up rugby union, and then it was like, well, I might have a chance of making it somewhere here, or so that was the drive. But it's definitely you need to find your goal, and I think it's important. And I'll admit I'm at a crossroads now of where I go and how I do it, which is not easy to go through. I think when I've always had something to sort of strive for, it's just making that adjustment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have the answer.
Yeah. And look, this is pretty fresh for you. Like you said, it was only 2 weeks ago that you retired, and
Yeah.
you played some social basketball this morning, and
Yeah.
you've got some thoughts from that. You said your body wasn't doing what your mind was telling it to do.
Quite a reality check. Yep.
Yeah. Look, something
Yeah.
we probably need to touch on, Jared, is that a lot of guys our age, and maybe even slightly younger, have looked into testosterone replacement therapy, TRT,
Yep.
as well as full-on steroids.
I
Uh,
know.
they make a few jokes about guys in the masters divisions of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that basically it's, dads that are on TRT and the roids just to get out there on the mats. And I'm
Yeah.
definitely never going there. I think of my long-term health. I want to
Yeah.
be around when I'm 100 as well. I really love being alive, and I want to see what the world looks like in 50 or so years.
Yep.
So I don't want to do anything that could possibly have any long-term health effects that I don't know about.
Yep.
So that's out of the picture for me. But do you know anyone that's doing TRT or roids?
I do not, but doesn't mean I probably. It doesn't mean there isn't people in my circle or in my broad circle of acquaintances that are. Like I know of people that all of a sudden got really fit and got really I guess committed. But I look at that as a bit of a personality trait. Like sometimes there's people out there that once they say they're going to do something, they will do it. Like, I want to train every day, so they'll join F45 and train every day. It's a more of a personality trait. I look at it, but there's people out there that all of a sudden just get this drive that and jumping straight to that's testosterone replacement or roids is probably a long bow, but look, it wouldn't surprise me if there was someone in my circle that has it, but I'm not aware.
Yeah. Would you consider it yourself?
Look, steroids, no. There's so much out there to say not to. But I haven't done a lot of research on the testosterone replacement. Is what it is, testosterone replacement treatment?
Yeah.
What it is? Yeah.
Or therapy, something like
that. Therapy. I haven't done a lot of research on it, but I have heard about it. And in passing, I don't know. I mean, if they're doing... It's a hard thing because you think about if they're doing it, it should be okay, but then it's but then it's one of those ones, 20 years down the track, what have I done to my body? Sort of thing. Or just to get that competitive edge for another 5 years, or to get that drive. But it's definitely a thing. It's definitely very much out there, isn't it?
Yeah. Look, I don't think there's any shame in aging, Jared. I'm I'm not happy to age. Like, I don't want to get really old and frail or anything, but I'd like to do
Yeah.
it gracefully. I don't want to hold on to my youth and just, cling on for dear life or anything like
Yeah.
that and just take everything under the sun to try to do that. I think it's important to be realistic and to accept the natural phases
Well,
of life.
the, the reality for me, a big reality hit was uh, not having the hair growth of what I once had.
Yeah.
That came pretty early for me, really. Like, like I wasn't, geez, I can't remember my last haircut. It wasn't me just shaking my head.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it's been a while. And then I say recently, but I guess accepting the fact that, I needed glasses.
Oh, okay.
So,
I didn't know that.
yep. So, whilst I got the glasses a few years back, I didn't really accept it, and I just kept not using them
Yeah, right.
till I got to a point where, like, my eyes were hurting and my face was hurting because the muscles were around because I was straining at the computer
Yeah.
screen whilst driving. So yeah, I bit the bullet. I went to the doctor about it and about my face having some weird sort of feelings in my face, and she's like, "Do you need glasses?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah." She goes, "It's your eyes." Like, it was really
Hmm.
obvious at her. But so once I put my glasses on to drive and also to do computer work, I all those feelings stopped, and the reality is that, yeah, look, that could be an affected. That could also be an effect of why I'm not playing sport as well. Like,
Yeah.
I don't wear glasses or contacts out and on the sporting field. So yeah. So that's another aging reality check, and I think they just keep coming. Like,
Yeah.
injuries, injuries have a real different feel these days. Like, the recovery and the recovery time and how you obtain these injuries. Just gardening or
Yeah.
going on a normal run or walk or whatever. It just all of a sudden you've got things like plantar fascia. What's it called? Plantar
Plantar
fasciitis.
fasciitis, I've got that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it. I've had it for a while, and I'm out with one of the hard cricket ball things under my foot, rolling every day because it's just it's just part of the thing, and it's just because I've moved too much that day. And and we're not the only ones that would sort of have this problem, but uh, they're the reality checks that sort of come in, have been creeping into my life, I guess.
Yeah. Gosh. Well, my plantar fasciitis is mainly in the mornings and then
Yeah,
kind of subsides throughout the day.
subsides. Like,
Yeah.
for me, after 10 steps, after sitting down for a little while or inactiveness, my first 10 steps are like, oh, this is bad. And then it kind of goes all right. But, like I said, I've just been trying to treat it as much as I can with the rolly ball under the foot. uh,
You talked about, the odd ways that we can get injuries these days. I've actually got a really bad back and a really bad shoulder, and I thought it was from jiu-jitsu. And I just realized it's because Erica found me an electric guitar in the council
yes.
pickup, and I couldn't believe it. Anyway, I put some strings on it, cleaned it up, bought an amp, and it works. So it's the
You did.
best toy I've ever had. And I've just been playing this electric guitar with my head down because I'm not very good at
Yep.
guitar and I've got to look at my hands.
Terrible
And then
position.
and then I realized, oh, this is why I'm so sore and I'm so tense in my strumming hand, my shoulder, that's why I'm injured. And it's killing me. So
Yeah.
now I'm like, oh, now I've got to get some sort of, postural lessons on how to sit properly when I'm playing guitar.
Yep.
And
Yep.
yeah, stretch just to sit down to play guitar. So that's a whole new thing for me.
It's unbelievable that. And I remember going to, and I apologize if I said this already in previous episodes, but I remember going to physio about something, and I said, gee, this has never happened before, like this, like it was some kind of weird injury that I picked up. And he's like, yeah, but you've never been this old before. I'm like, oh, that's fair call. And then moving on to, like, similar to what you were just talking about with the guitar, like, I went to chiro about back and stuff like that, and we were doing a bit of an adjustment, and then he's like, you need to adjust the way you sit when you sit on the lounge. I'm like, what? Like,
Yeah,
I'm getting injuries because I'm sitting wrong now. And I'm
yeah,
like, oh my goodness.
yeah, that's right. Sleeping wrong, sitting
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah. And it's, these are all the fun reality checks. And then you think about, like, but I'm still going out. Like, yeah, at that point, I was still playing basketball 2 nights a week, and I was still, playing netball on the weekends, and I was still, pretty active. And you're just like, how am I picking these injuries up is it the byproduct of the actual activity that I'm doing, or is it the fact that I'm not active? Like it's this sort of balancing.
Yeah.
Like when I'm not doing those things, I'm like, well, I'm resting, but I'm resting wrong. It's quite a old man conundrum.
Yeah, we got away with a lot through youth. Just being young and being, supple, being a little bit more flexible. That gave you, a lot. But now, we just can't get away with it anymore. We've got to get our bodies prepped for whatever it is that we need to do. When I first started jiu-jitsu, I think I was 42, which is pretty late to start. And when we did the warm-ups and, stuff like break falling, I'd always try to keep up with the young guys. I'd always make the point that I'm not old, I'm the one to keep up with. And when I went to the gym and I think I was in my mid-30s or early 30s to mid-30s, when I did group classes there, I'd always want to be the one at the front of the pack. And I've given up on all that now. And I was for a while. But now I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to do my warm-ups as slowly as possible because I need to conserve energy for the whole class.
Yeah, that's right. You got to pace yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But look, Jarad, we've talked about our goals, athletic-wise, but there's still loads of other areas for growth. Being in our mid-40s, life isn't over. There's so much more to go. I think that we've got more of life to go than has already been. I believe that we can live for another 45 years. And so we can do all this again. Yes, God willing, or whatever it is you believe in, we could live for another 45 years. We can do this whole life thing again. So now we've got, a whole lifetime's worth of experience. We can actually choose the next part of our adventure much more consciously than what we did earlier.
True.
So
Sure.
I want to keep growing personally. I want to keep this adventure going, but I want to be a better person than what I was yesterday, especially, in my early 20s and 30s when I was still figuring things out. Well, I'm still figuring things out now, but you know what I mean? Yes. I really want to just keep going, and I feel like we still have the best ahead of us. So what other areas of growth can we focus on, Jarad?
I think at this point, it's the growth has to be for for yourself and the ones closest to you. So I think at this point for me, it's having that competitive drive, but shifting it towards why have I got the competitive drive? I've got it because I want to do it, not because I need to be good for a team or I need to be my strongest for for whatever, a trial or something like that. Or like I said, for me, it's the growth is for me and my family. So the potential of me being around for another 45 years is at its highest.
Yeah,
that's the way. That's my shift. And talking through it and thinking about it over the last few weeks or months or the last year or so, that is where my focus is going to go, and that's just my personal, growth journey, I guess.
Okay, let's try to quantify this a little, Jarad. If we were talking about basketball here, you'd say, okay, I want to get better at my three-pointers, or I want to get more involved on the floor, or I want to improve my passing. Yep. What does it mean to be better for your family?
Well, healthier, or overall health. So I know that's a very, very broad.
Physical health?
Yeah. So I feel like physical health and mental health are connected, right? So if you're not feeling right physically, you're not feeling right mentally. I think a lot of people, and I'm one of them. You feel a bit down and a bit off. You go for a walk, you feel better. You get the heart pumping. It's not new science. It's nothing special, but it takes. I think it takes a person to realize it before they actually can do it, if that makes sense. So, like you could tell me at 20, go for a walk, you feel better. And I'd be like, I'll go for a walk. Like, why would I do that for? Yeah. But now it's like what I get out of that walk is, time to reflect, time to think, time to, obviously, and then also the physical wins, I guess, you get from, getting the heart pumping and all that sort of stuff. So it's I sort of lost my train of thought, but it's about balancing those two, mental health and physical health, and I think they both intertwine.
Yeah. That's awesome, Jared. Yeah, personally, my goal now in the athletic pursuits is to be the best partner I can be.
Yeah,
So be a great training partner to people with the
yeah,
boxing group that we do in the
yeah,
park. I just want to be welcoming to people, really friendly, and get some technical skills as well. I don't need to get faster or anything. That's not going to happen. I'm going to be slowing down, but just get better technique-wise. In my own life, in general, I really just want to be more present.
yeah,
I want to really be in tune with people and
yeah,
really know what a person's needs are in the moment and be able to hold that space for them so that they can be themselves and feel free to, chat with me in any way they want to. I think
yeah,
that's really important with my kids for them
yeah.
to know that, okay, I can always go to my father. It's really
Just
important
learn
for all of my friends, for them to know, who I am. And my other goal is just to be in control of my thoughts, to not let things get away from me, to not tell stupid stories to myself that, might be catastrophic or something. Rather
Yeah,
than do that, I can just simply be in the moment and, take things as they are.
yeah, yeah. Sounds really positive, man.
Thanks, Jared. Thanks to all our listeners for joining us. I've really enjoyed this chat, Jared. I'm so sorry that we have to cut it now, but it is what it is. We want to make these episodes digestible. To
Yeah.
all our listeners, I hope you can continue tuning in. We've really loved getting back together to do this, and we hope that you've enjoyed joining us. So, Jared, hopefully I will see you next week.
Hopefully, and I agree with everything you said there. And look, to be honest, mate, I've had a great time again, and I'm looking forward to our next chat.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Bye.